Welcome to the 12-week self-coaching program, where we're going to spend the next 12 weeks or 3 months, you and I, we're going to guide you through how you can unlock your mind. Now, in these next 12 weeks, think about it. When was the last time you really spent 3 months, a quarter of the year, really focusing on yourself? This is a training for you to unlock your mind, for you to go through a series of design exercises, meaning designing yourself, designing your values, designing your beliefs, because you can change those, and also designing what you want externally in your environment, in your relationships. Now, if you have already done the 3 weeks or the 21-day challenge, that's really going to help this with this training. If you haven't yet, I would definitely strongly recommend that you go through it, because what you design there will be a foundation or the framework that we're going to utilize here as well. And on top of that, we're going to add new things. We're going to increase what we ask you to design, because once you have designed what you want inside and outside, then we can begin to we can actually teach you the formulas on how you can bridge the gap between what you want and reality. And many of the changes will occur in your behavioral level, in your emotions, as well as in your thinking patterns. The changes that you'll experience will occur often daily, if not by the hour. As you're going through this training, you'll notice the training is not actually super long, but it's about your consistency over the next 12 weeks, that you go on this training, you listen to this training multiple times, you get on in the VR version, you get on in the 2D version, you get on with the audio version. Yeah, the VR and the 2D version have the same content. Now, of course, the VR is going to be far more immersive. However, let's say you're driving somewhere to visit family or to work, you can actually listen to the audio version on repeat. And that will give you some very important understanding and knowledge. And then when you get home, you can begin to study, whether in the 2D, or you can dedicate some time and go through our VR version in a virtual reality headset. Now, this provides you 3 unique and yet accessible environments for you to learn according to your learning style. If you prefer to be like in a live training, the VR version will literally help you feel like you're here with me. If you prefer the simple accessibility of the 2D screen, whether it's on your phone, your tablet, your laptop, your computer, then the 2D video is where you're going to find that easily, right? Now, if you're someone who prefers listening to it, like listening to an audiobook, then the audio version will be very key. Now, the audio version does have different content, so keep that in mind as you're going through this. I want you to now begin to think for a moment before we dive into the course. You need to think, what is going to happen in this next 3 months that when it happens, because of my change, because of the changes that I'm creating, because of this upgrade self-coaching course, will make this one of, if not the one most important investment so far. Now, you may say, William, that's a pretty big ask. What should I pick? I would say it could be something that you haven't yet thought that you could do, that you've been wanting, perhaps your whole life. Yeah, whether it's creating the freedom to work for yourself, or whether it's going out and creating this venture or a business or whatever that you've been wanting that's bigger than you have currently set up, or whether it's literally expanding your business, or maybe your business is going great. Maybe you want to create a relationship that you feel fulfilled, and it's just full of happiness, one relationship that you would spend the rest of your life cherishing, right? Or maybe it's that you just want to do better at work and be promoted and or sell better in a sales role. Maybe you're an executive. You want to be able to create better management system or be able to manage your employees or your staff better. Maybe it's health and fitness related. Maybe it's that you're like, okay, I'm doing well in business, I'm making good money, my relationship's decent, but I know that it could be better. And in all honesty, I think a lot of it has to do with me not giving me time to work out, to eat well, taking care of myself, because that's affecting my relationship. That could be one of the scenarios too, right? There are so many different things that could occur in our lifetime that sometimes has an influence, not so positive influence, on our performance in another area of our lives. So in this self-coaching program, we're going to teach you how to have not only the bird's eye view, the bigger perspective, but be able to zoom right into what is actually the root cause that's causing a problem that may be in a different area of your life. So we're going to teach you some cross-contextual problem-solving skills that gives you a perspective that, frankly, the things that limit you is not often just found in the things that you want to do but cannot do. It's found in the things you never considered doing. So now let me give you a little bit more of an overview of what's going to happen in these next 12 weeks. So as we do, you're welcome to take notes. You're welcome to just enjoy this program. You're welcome to just relax and find yourself remembering what I will share with you. And then as we dive into the different weeks, you can definitely take the time, repeat, listen to it, and take more notes if you want to. I want to give you the big picture understanding of what you're going to go through, and then we're going to go into the details of each of the topics. So in week 1, what we're going to do is we're going to show you how you can design your universe. And designing your universe isn't just designing the things you want, the experiences you want, which we teach you in the 21-day challenge. It's very much about designing every aspect. It's designing the identity, designing you. It's designing your values, which is what's important to you, which governs your beliefs. We will also design your beliefs. Now, you may have thought, wow, as you heard that, is that really possible that I could design my beliefs? You mean that you're saying I don't have to just believe what I believe? True, yes. And I don't mean just in a conscious way. I mean in the unconscious level, because our beliefs and values that are stored at the unconscious level is what constructs our identity. And humans will do everything they can to maintain the integrity of their identity, because that's what they identify with. So when you begin to change the things that support that identity, when you begin to change the attributes of your identity, you'll notice clusters of values and beliefs begin to shift in a very positive way. Now, what you'll find is also that as you change these values and beliefs, your behaviors will also begin to shift, and therefore your external world. Now, in the design process in week 1, we'll continue to show you that not only could you design yourself, and all the way to your behavior and your outcome, but also what if you could design your relationships? What if you could design your clients, your ideal clients, your world, literally your physical world of what you interact with daily? Your work environment, all the things and experiences you have in your environment, your house, design where you live and where your kids grow up, all the different things you want, you can design. So after you design your universe, your mind has a roadmap of what to go off of. We're going to dive into how you utilize certain formulas for success. Now, these formulas for success they're very important, because they will bridge the gap between your design and what's actually going to happen as results of that design. See, you can design a fancy universe of yours, but if you don't have these formulas, you can take so much action and you'll still find that it's exhausting. You'll still find that it takes a lot of energy, it takes a lot of resources, perhaps physical work. And there's that hustle and grind culture of a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, and executives. A lot of people have that culture in their mind because that's what they've been taught their whole life. But just using pure physical effort As they say, work smarter, not harder. Well, just working harder is actually oftentimes a good way to compensate for what we don't do in the mind. But here in this training, we're going to share with you how you can use these formulas to do the work within your mind, especially now that by week 2, you'll have designed what you want. Those formulas will help you convert your design that does not exist in the physical plane yet into the physical. These formulas will help you remove blockage, and all the things that hold you back in your mind. Think of it like this. What you've designed in week 1, what you will have designed in week 1, imagine it's just a floating, it's a creation floating somewhere in a different plane. And then as you begin to take action, and because truly everything before is physical, it was created in the spiritual, in the mind. And as you work to create it in the physical, right, there's that conversion process into the physical. Now, that being said, if you were to want to bring something into physical, and a lot of people do, a lot of people want to bring their spiritual or their mental ideas into the physical, but there are blockages somewhere in between. Those blockages tend to be within the mental and emotional plane. Sure, there are physical limitations, but oftentimes it's in the mental, emotional planes. And I'll give you a couple of examples before I explain to you what week 3 is. One example would be you don't believe, and I'm not saying you do or do not, but some people, right? I'm just using the you pronoun. You may not believe that you can have a successful business and make a lot of money and still be a good person, because you were taught growing up that rich people are not nice or whatever. You may not, or maybe you may not believe that you can have a very wonderful, loving family and you have the time to spend with them and still run a very fruitful, successful, abundant business. Or maybe you believe you can have a great relationship with your family and your wife or kids or your husband, whatever that you have. And also maybe you could have that business that you believe you want, and you already have both, but for some reason your health and fitness is just falling apart or not working out, right? That is a dichotomy. That's one program that a lot of people have. It's one or the other. These programs are actually inherently limiting, and they are built around beliefs that are not true. And those beliefs causes you to behave in a certain way that proves these beliefs to be true. Therefore, we have formulas that will help you completely not only deconstruct, but destroy those patterns in your mind. Now, next, we're going to share with you how those formulas that you learn hinges on your relationship with yourself. Because if your relationship with yourself is actually in a really low and just in a bad place, what happens is you can learn all the skills, all the formulas in the world, and you can design the most magnificent universe for yourself, but you yourself will not give it to yourself. And that's where self-sabotaging happens. If you don't believe you deserve what you want and that you have not treated yourself kindly. See, a lot of people cannot speak to others in any way but polite and nice ways, perhaps. Let's just say that, right? Or they won't say certain things to others, even if they weren't polite or nice, but they would say those things to themselves. They would stand in front of the mirror and call themselves out in not nice ways, right? Or something happens and they fail at something, or that something happened, and frankly, we don't believe in failures. There's only feedback anyway. But let's say someone believed that there was a failure somewhere, they would just go off on themselves and punish themselves, and they would do all kinds of self-sabotaging behaviors. So in week 3, we're going to resolve that with you. We're going to help you get rid of that problem with yourself, that lack of rapport, that lack of love and self-appreciation with yourself, because that right there is one of the keys to massive success, your relationship with yourself. Then very next item that we're going to talk about is a strategy for success. Now, strategy for success, and I don't mean like business strategy. I don't mean like, oh, these are the steps you take in your business. What I mean by strategy of success is that in your mind, there are several steps that occur whenever you have succeeded at something. And if these steps are not run, sometimes you run other strategies that does not lead to success. So what we're going to do is we're going to find a way to help you extract what those steps are within you. And they don't have to be business strategies or whatever. They're not specific to business. They are a personal strategy of creating success personally. So we're going to find those steps and we're going to help you utilize those steps to continuously repeat success that you desire. So week 4 is going to be simple yet very powerful. We'll explain that everything in life, there are oftentimes steps. And that's how our behavior tends to actualize things in the physical, is following these steps. So then we're going to go into week 5, where we're going to talk about life challenges, obstacles, hardships, and as we call it earlier, failures, which really are just feedbacks, and etc. Right? We're going to talk about all these things. And the reason that we're going to spend some time, in fact, an entire week talking about these challenges or these hard things in life is that we want you to remove certain things in your mind. Whenever you think about hardship, whenever you think about challenges, whenever you think about things that are holding you back, failures or whatever, people all have a history of them. And because of that history that we have in our mind of these experiences that we have that we call hardship or failures or challenges, we may have certain emotions attached to them. And whenever we are reminded that when we set a new goal, there may be challenges, hardships, there may be other obstacles or whatever it is that holds us back, that causes a certain emotional reaction. We're going to help you get rid of that so that it causes you to be able to have an easy time creating success without the fear of failure, without the fear of being challenged or that obstacle being in your way. And I'll tell you this right now, to sum up week 5, what you'll find is a lot of the external challenges that we experience in our universe is simply just a projection of the blockages, the limitations, and the beliefs that we have not yet resolved. So we're going to show you how to resolve them so that the external factors, the external projection or that mirror that we call reality will resolve these problems externally. And there are some cool stories that we'll share with you that you may be like, oh my gosh, wow, really? Our mind can do that. Once you begin to understand that the true power of the mind is that it can do so much more than what you may think now, you'll realize that there are some ways to create that change. And in the following week, in week 6, we're going to explore not only the power of your mind, but the power of language, because language is an instrument of the mind to communicate its influence, its change. And if you want to create and bring about real change, not only in your own life, you want to speak differently. If you want to bring real change into your environment, you want to speak also that different level. There's that different level of understanding. And when you begin to understand language and how it operates within the mind, within the unconscious mind, you'll begin to consciously use your language differently. And one thing to keep in mind is that if you could communicate in such a way that can speak to the mind visually, auditorily, and kinesthetically, or in other ways, smell and taste, if you can use language in that way and you can be flexible in speaking to people, for example, if you're very visual and someone is very, very kinesthetic and you use visual language, they may not understand you to the fullest degrees. Their brain at that moment is operating in kinesthetics. So how do you flexibly recognize that and communicate accordingly? That's going to be covered in week 6. Now, week 7, we're going to talk about the benefits of being a master communicator who understands the power of language and can create massive results in their communication. Because master communicators can easily pitch an idea, sell an idea, and win the case and win whatever it is that you want, the sale, or the deal, or the partnership, or the investment. When you find that, sure, we can't guarantee legally a specific result. We can't guarantee that you're going to make a ton more money. However, could you guess, could you imagine what happens when you truly master communication? Now, you may already be a very good communicator, because most people actually who sign up for our course are already very successful and tend to be already great communicators. They're not just the average who perhaps don't understand many of these tools. They may already have learned quite a few of these things in their experience, in their successful ventures, and or in what they have gone through personally. Now, that being said, what we're going to share with you in week 7 is not going to be commonly shared. It's going to be stuff that will take you into the unconscious and show you how the unconscious mind understands what cells is. And the unconscious mind begins to give you new tools. And also, one last thing about week 7 is that the reason you can sell effortlessly and convince others or persuade others effortlessly when you master communication in the unconscious level is that the unconscious level is where all the beliefs, identities, and values, what's important to people, right, and their behavior, that's where the center of where those things, their programs are from. So when you can begin to communicate directly to the unconscious, you can have a much bigger impact, a much bigger influence, and it's easy for you to create agreement. So we'll even share with you some technology, linguistics, that allows you to be able to speak in such a way that gain greater agreement no matter where you go and what you do. So then we're going to move on to week 8, knowing now that you have such powerful sets of skills. Week 8 is we're going to ask you to set some unrealistic goals. We want you to set goals that you're, wow, blown away by. You're just like, if I could do this, I mean, everyone and all my neighbors and their dogs would be proud of me, and my grandmother and grandfather and grandkids, everyone in my family would be like, oh my gosh, that's incredible. And maybe even your nation would be proud of you. I don't know. What I'm saying is, as you set goals in week 8, we want you to set things that are absolutely ridiculous to your current, to what is believable to you now, to your current self. So we'll get to that point, and once you've gone through first 7 weeks, your mind will be ready for that. And in week 8, you'll come up with some creative, brilliant ideas. But I will give you a hint. I want you to think what you would do if you somehow got $1 billion tomorrow, and its taxes are paid for, it's post-tax $1 billion. How would you spend and or invest it? Yeah. And please be very creative, and really it's something that you gotta want, right? And it may not just be things. It may be to fulfill what you want in your environment or whatever. But just keep that in mind, that by the time we get to week 8, I'm going to ask you, how will you spend $1 billion? Now, here's the cool part. If you don't use it all within 1 week in this artificially created scenario, yeah, if you don't use it in a week, it's gone, yeah. So I want you to have that $1 billion in your mind, that, hey, I got $1 billion, I got to use it all in 1 week. What do I do? Now, for some of you, you might be like, that's easy. I already got it, right? I can do it. For some of you, you're not there yet. So regardless, this $1 billion, you can only spend it within 1 week, period. So that's week 8's, there's going to be a lot more content, but this is the core of it. In week 9, we're going to show you how to create balance. Some of you are going to say, man, now I have these extremely awesome goals that I know to be unrealistic, but I feel good. Like, paradoxically, I feel good about them, confident that I deserve to have them. And for some of you, literally in week 8, you would have to set goals that if you had a 10 billion or 100 billion, because you're financially already past $1 billion, then great, set the goal or make the number 10 billion. How would you use it? How would you spend it, right? But just backtrack a little bit. Week 8, setting unrealistic goals has nothing to do with the monies. I want you to set unrealistic goals, and I'll give you full instruction by then. But attached to your goals is the billion or 10 or $100 billion that's just there for you to utilize. And really, It depends on your level. If you're beyond that too, then set bigger numbers and say, hey, if I got that in a week and I have to use it all, what would I do? So just scale it according to where you're at right now. And then, but minimally 1 billion. In the ninth week, when we talk about balance, what's really important is that you understand what's important to you is what you dedicate the most resources to. So if you want balance between work and some people call it work-life and balance, right? That work and that personal life balance. Well, if your personal life is a lower priority and your work life is a high priority in your unconscious, you can do what you can to create that work-life balance. You'll still end up more at work because the value that drives your beliefs and your behaviors is placed on work. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you that you can actually tweak what's important to you when you want, where you want. So you can actually custom modify those things. And it makes it a lot easier for you to have balance because balance is automatic when you place what's important to you in an order that actually is ideal. Now, it may require some experimentation because everyone's different. Everyone's got different things that's important to them. So if we begin to play with that carefully, of course, you'll begin to notice balance naturally begins to happen. And frankly, it's not necessarily balance that you may be after. It's more massive result, but more personal free time to do what you want, right? If that's true, what you'll find is as you go through all the trainings up to this week, week 9, you will have gained some massive skills and remove some blockages and some mental obstacles that allows you to experience more and more flow state at work and or in your relationship and your personal life. If you haven't noticed, everything up to week 9 now is all about creating that flow state, setting up the right foundation for flow state. In the 10th week, we're going to dive into the true power of the unconscious and what it can really do for you. And it only activates really when you're in the flow state. So this training is really here for us to help you achieve massive amount of flow states. Now, keep in mind, everything that we share here is going to be very direct. Well, sure, there are some parts of it that are indirect, but we're going to be as concise and as precise as possible. We want you to get results as quickly as possible. Because once you notice that this begins to work really well and that it works, you'll find that the mental programming practitioner course or the mental programming master practitioner course will give you the a lot of detail and the depth of all these skills and understanding and knowledge. It will dive in so deep so that you will understand and know how to use those skills. And of course, we're going to expand a lot more. There's significantly more training and understanding in the master and as well as the practitioner course. And those come with a in-person training as well. So definitely as you go through these first 10 weeks, you'll notice, wow, this really begins to work. And if not, has already worked really well, then if you're interested, if you find yourself wanting to, definitely schedule a call with our team and get involved with the practitioner and or master practitioner course. Now then on to the last 2 weeks where we really have built some pretty next level content. Week 11 is about how you create. Now you may say, what do you mean? That sounds like a simple concept. I create all day long. What I'm talking about is the concept of will, the willpower, the will of the mind, and your imagination. When you add the two together, you'll find that that's how you create. Will and imagination. Imagination, and in the ancient time, they believe that it has a very, and even in the modern time too, imagination has the yin side, which is the feminine side in the energy, and the masculine side, or in the energy sciences. And they believe that's the yang or the masculine side, yeah, the will. And when you bring the yin and the yang together in the Taoist beliefs, what's interesting is that you find creation naturally occurring, the masculine and the feminine joining together. Now, this is an interesting part of the training because it goes out of the mental programming side of things and begins to dive into, now this isn't really actually at all about spiritual or spirituality. This is about understanding the nature of the imagination of the mind is actually beyond just some thoughts in the mind. And this is also going to demonstrate that your will, the will of your mind, is beyond oftentimes what you think just in your mind. When you properly combine the power of the two, you'll find some rapid changes that can begin to occur in the physical. And we'll dive into a lot more of that in week 11. And then lastly, we're going to show you how your success, creating success, is your natural state. See, people say, I have to work hard, I have to do this. They give themselves conditions logically. I mean, like in math, they're like, I have to do this, I have to have this, and if this condition exists, then I can have success. Sure, it may or may not be true, but oftentimes we add these conditions that are absolutely not true and unnecessary. So we're going to show you how you can begin to not only understand, but live in such a way that success is your natural state. And anything that isn't success is not your natural state. And if you begin to incorporate that mental program, what you'll find is you'll begin to remove things that causes you to not naturally succeed. The obstacles, the mental limitations and different things. So week 12 is very special because as simple as it sounds now, it wraps around the entire training and gives you a full, conclusive perspective of why you want to believe that you deserve success and it's your natural state. And so all the skills that you've learned up to week 12 will be magnified because your mind's like, oh, I deserve success. I am success. And because of that, all the tools will be used at the unconscious level at the full scale instead of, a certain small percentage. And you'll find that you'll tap into more of your potential. We meet a lot of people and a lot of them have achieved fantastic success in their lives. And what we have found is they still wonder, they still feel this fear. What if I don't achieve and or live up to my true potential? What if I wasted my life just chasing one thing or another? What if I wasted my time because I didn't do this or that? What if I miss out? Yeah. And it's not just a fear of missing out. It's literally, hey, I know I have more power. I know I could do more. I know I could really create more, but I'm so comfortable, right? And they presuppose that being more successful, even more so than they are now, being more happy, being more powerful, being more of who they are, who they could be, would require more energy. But it's not necessarily true. In fact, what if that program is false? And so we're going to show you that you can actually build a program where success is your natural state, which means you don't need to do. What you have to do is simply be. Welcome to the training.